Monster Hunter Now has 6 different weapons that you can choose from. And in this video, I'm gonna go over what they are and how they play, starting with the longsword.
Longsword is your classic samurai-style sword, but very large. Maybe not like Sephiroth long, but definitely longer than like an Odachi. The larger Monster Hunter community calls this the Weeb Stick. It's a medium-speed weapon with moderate to high damage output. You can hit multiple times with a bunch of different combos, and even do a charge-up slash by resheathing your sword like Rurouni Kenshin, and then unleash an anime-style slashing attack with delayed hits and everything. This weapon does slicing damage, which is required to cut off certain monster parts like tails. Its special skill is Spirit Helm Breaker, where you lunge and stab the monster, and use that stab to pole vault up above the monster and come down with a huge descending strike as you land, which will result in multiple delayed hits and do a ton of damage. Very anime. It's also the weapon with the most interest according to this video. Weebs.
Now that that's taken care of, let's go over our next weapon. Yeah, it's hammer, but all I have that's hammer-like is a hatchet, and I need to cut this tree down for the yard work. I could have brought out like my hammer to hammer nails, but I obviously don't have a giant hammer like in the game. But anyway.
Hammer is my personal favorite weapon on this list. Dual blades are my favorite, but they're not in this game. The hammer seems at first glance to be a slow weapon because of its slow startup swing, but if you can get in a rhythm with the swings, then your hunter can use the momentum of the hammer and shift their weight for power for the next swing, allowing for faster combat and very satisfying smashes. I would classify this as a slow to medium speed weapon depending on the user. You can also charge the hammer up to 3 times. If you release at the correct time, then your hunter will do a rising strike followed by a downward strike. In the main games, specifically World, which this game's mechanics are based off of, to do this up and down swing after you charge, you have to stop in front of the monster and then let it go. If you keep running or you keep moving when you have that charge in the main games, then you'll actually do a spin attack. But in Monster Hunter Now, that is now the special skill for the hammer. It's called the Spinning Bludgeon, where your hunter spins around, hitting the target up to 5 times, with the 5th strike causing the most amount of damage out of all the strikes. So if any of them hit, make sure it's that last one. This weapon does blunt damage and can cause knockout, which is a status that stuns the monster for a short time if you've hit its head enough. And you can chain this effect if you are good enough to hit the head over and over again, so you can stun lock monsters if you're really good. And this is Sujimoto's favorite weapon too. I'm really hyped for hammer.
I must have chopped that too fast. Next up is the versatile, classic Sword and Shield.
Sword and Shield is my second favorite weapon that's in the game right now. It's a fast-paced weapon that allows you to almost climb up the monster by doing a bunch of slashes and strikes, but you can also do grounded combos. You don't have to fly up the monster. This weapon is versatile because you can do slicing damage and bludgeon damage, so you can knock out a monster and cut off tails, but a core feature of Sword and Shield that I haven't yet seen in the games is using the shield to block. Maybe I've missed it, but I haven't seen a single clip of anyone blocking in Monster Hunter Now at all. And I still haven't seen anything official, but I did see a clip from this YouTuber, Savi, right after I stopped recording, and they were going through the tutorial and it showed you how to block. So blocking is definitely confirmed for the game, at least with Sword and Shield. Its special skill is Perfect Rush Combo, which has you lunge at the monster, hitting it with your sword and shield, causing both kinds of damage and ultimately doing up to 7 hits.
Next up, we have the hulking behemoth. Okay, I don't have like a giant metal sword, but great sword mows down enemies?
If you ever wanted to feel like a slightly more realistic Cloud Strife or Nightmare from Soul Calibur, then this is the weapon for you. Slow and seemingly unwieldy, the Greatsword is the largest weapon in the game and is a staple part of every single Monster Hunter game. It's like a defining part of the series. It's had many gameplay changes over the years, just like most of these weapons, but its current iteration is all about charging up your attacks to do the most amount of damage in one hit. The base combo for this weapon is an overhead slash followed by a spinning sideways slash. In the main games, you can chain this over and over if you want, but it's unclear to me right now, just because I haven't seen the footage, whether you can do that in Monster Hunter Now. But what you can do in Monster Hunter Now is charge. You can either take out your weapon and just start charging, or you can do the combo, the overhead and sideways slash, and then go into a charge. You're able to charge up to 3 times with ascending levels of power each charge. And if you release on the 3rd charge, then you do a giant slash, doing up to triple the amount of damage as a normal slash. Its special skill is True Charged Slash, where your hunter charges up up and does 2 giant overhead slashes for tons of damage. This weapon does slicing damage and is admittedly pretty basic, but it's really intuitive once you learn it, and it makes you feel like such a powerhouse. In the main games, you can also do a small attack that causes blunt damage, but I haven't seen whether that's in Monster Hunter Now or not. In the main games, you can also block with this weapon, but I haven't seen that either yet. Also, I find it funny that the larger community calls the longsword the weeb stick, but charging is inherently anime. Like, what else do you see where someone like charges up some power before they release it and hit with a giant attack?
Next up, we have the unique to Monster Hunter classic light bowgun.
It's exactly what it sounds like, a combination of a bow and a gun. And like I mentioned before, this is the light version. There's also a heavy version in the games, but not in Monster Hunter Now, for now. The light bowgun can hold up to 5 different ammo types, and it can shoot them with various speeds depending on the ammo type. Yes, there are different ammo types. Because I don't have the game, I can't confirm whether the variability of the ammo types is going to be the same, but in the mainline games, the ammo types are as follows: normal shots, pierce shots, spread shots, sticky shots, slicing shots, elemental shots, which include flaming, water, thunder, freeze, and dragon. They have ammo types that can shoot out poison, paralysis, and sleep ammo. In the main games, they can also shoot paintballs, but since we have a dedicated paintball button in this game, I doubt that the devs are gonna have like paintball ammo, because it's gonna be an item that you can actually buy. And I don't know if they would like have you be able to miss with this. Like maybe there's like a paintball minigame that makes it like Pokemon Go or something. And in the mainline games, you can also use healing shots. This is a special ammo type that you can shoot at your friends and heal them so that they can keep fighting. I hope they keep this, but I highly doubt it, just because there are potions that you can buy, again, through microtransactions, and I don't know if they're gonna allow you to have healing ammo when you could buy with real money a potion in the store. You can also run around and dodge as a gunner. The bowgun has infinite ammo on normal shots, but not on any others. Its special skill is Wyvernblast Counter, which sees your hunter powering up, cocking back the gun, and then releasing a giant shot for massive damage. This is the most damage that I've seen done by any weapon in this trailer. Even the true charge slash from the greatsword only does a total of 545 damage, and that's between 2 hits. Whereas this attack does 745 damage in 1 shot. Bowgun might be low-key OP in this game if you get good at it. It might be really good for time challenges, so keep your eye on it.
And last but not least, the bow. What do you mean that's the same thing? No, I mean, a bow and a bowgun are different. It looks completely different than the other one. Like, you know, shit.
While I joked that bow and bowgun are completely different, they do have a bunch of differences when compared to each other. And they do play differently, even though they're both ranged weapons. First of all, the bow is a fast, hit and run style weapon, and you can charge your shots, allowing you to do more damage if you have to dodge a lot. It can also use different ammo and element types, but lore-wise, these are coatings that are applied to the tips of the arrows, and they're kept in vials that the hunter puts on the weapon. The bow can hit multiple times with each attack, making it great for elemental attacks and especially status attacks like poison, paralysis, and sleep, because these types of attacks actually have a build-up meter that needs to be filled before the status will actually take effect. And each monster has their own resistances to it. So with bow, you can outspeed a lot of these resistances because it hits so many times in succession. Bows also have a critical distance, where if you shoot from that distance, then you'll actually get 1.5 times the damage than you normally would if you were too close or too far away. You'll get different kinds of sparks on the monster to indicate whether you're actually in that critical range. The bow also has infinite ammo, but not infinite coatings. The bow's special skill is Dragon Piercer, where your hunter dramatically scrapes the arrow on the ground and then knocks the arrow, charges up its attack, and then fires a giant arrow, which results in a rapid shot and huge damage. And those are all the weapons that are currently in the game. But there are weapons that were in Monster Hunter World and other games that aren't in Monster Hunter Now. The missing weapons are my favorite weapon style in the whole game, dual blades. Dual blades are the second weapon that have the rap of being a weeb weapon, and a lot of the community sees dual bladers as like selfish because they'll just jump in and like cause chaos and go crazy. But I like to use friendship gems and play a support dual blader. I don't know if that's like a common play style, but that's just how I love to play. Hunting horn, which is just like the hammer, but a little bit bigger in some cases, and it plays music and is the actual support role of the game. Lance, big shield, pokey pokey stab stab, sometimes stun lock. Gun lance. It's like the lance, but it also gun. Switch axe, which switches between an axe and a sword and uses files and can do like an elemental burst attack. Super cool, super unique weapon. Charge blade, which is commonly known as like the most complicated weapon in the game, and it can switch between like a sword and shield mode and an axe mode, and it uses files to charge up attacks and do an elemental... Isn't this the same weapon I'm just kidding. But they're really similar, and there's also like guard points for switch axe where you're like transforming your weapon and sheathing your sword into it and blocking at the same time. It's really cool, but again, really complicated. Insect glaive, which is a really cool weapon where you have like a symbiotic relationship with something called a kinsect, and you also have a giant like spear-like thing that you use to pole vault around and shoot out your kinsect and collect like energy from the monster with like 3 different colors, and it basically like powers you up into Super Saiyan, and then you fly around the map and hit stuff. And finally, heavy bowgun, which is light bowgun, but heavy. But basically it's just like a heavier version that you're supposed to be like farther away from the monster to use, and it's again like a slower support role generally that can dish out a ton of damage, and it even has a melee attack if you want to bonk a monster for some reason with your gun. There are other weapons like the tonfa and the magnet spike, etc., but we're just focusing on world right now because that's what Monster Hunter Now is heavily based on. There's a couple different questions that I haven't seen the answers to that I'd like to research and maybe do a video for you guys, but for example, stuff like, do you have to sharpen? We have to sharpen like all the time in the main games because your weapons lose sharpness. Is that a thing in Monster Hunter Now? Also, can you block?
Yes, you can.
Let me know in the comments if you have any questions that you want me to research and find out about the game coming up. Because like I posted in my community tab, the game is actually already out in certain regions. And I'm not jealous. But what's your personal favorite weapon type? And what weapon are you most hyped to play in Monster Hunter Now?
So, if you're still here at this point in the video, then I guess you're probably interested in what I'm actually doing back here. Back in Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, there were these gardens out in Poke Village, and having that garden in the game was so cool to me. Being able to like come back to your peaceful garden and harvest crops and collect bugs and fish and just be at peace in between these super chaotic, super action-based quests. I was in high school when I was playing those games, and I vowed that when I was older, I would make myself my own garden when I had my own house. So I built this garden when I got a house, and I kept up with it for about 4 years straight. But I have 2 kids now, and this year has been quite a lot. So I kind of let my garden just go to waste and overgrow, and it really sucked. I felt terrible about it. But hey, look, some volunteer tomatoes. That's kind of sick. That's actually really good. And it's late summer now, and basically too late to really plant anything of substance. But I thought that it might be cool to plant some bumble pumpkins and see if I could get them to grow big enough to decorate for Halloween and maybe even make some like Mossgarl armor. But Monster Hunter and those games specifically are like one of the main reasons why I enjoy gardening, because it inspired me way back then. I thought it was so cool to have that stuff, and I wanted that for myself. I wanted to try and be like self-sufficient and have a peaceful place in between the chaos of life. But now you know everything there is to know about all of the weapons that are in Monster Hunter Now. Please like this video and subscribe so that you can go on this hunting journey with me. I've got a lot more work to do before this is ready to be planted in, so until next time, see you later, hunters.